Hello there. If you're hearing this, it's because you're watching the recording, and the start of the stream has a bit of faffing around, so I'll have sorted out some timestamps, God willing, and I suggest you use those to skip the faffing around. Right, with that out of the way, let's faff. So first I need to hit the go live button. I think I've sorted everything for that. I am apparently live, so let's refresh the stream manager on Twitch. Let's check if I'm live. Manager on Twitch, let's check if I'm live. Okie dokie. And now it's just a matter of booping people on Discord. So that's the one with the tag, and that's the one without the tag. And those are the boops. The boops have been booped. And now I'm going to wait for a few people to say hi in chat, just before I actually start doing stuff. But I think we're good. You know what? I've just realised I forgot to pause Windows Update on the streaming system, because I actually ran it earlier so it wouldn't be a problem. But I'd better pause it. Let's do that. While I'm waiting for people to file in. Yes, pause until Christmas. Yes, that sounds good. Alright. The optical image stabilization on the camera is never especially happy at this angle. So the image is sort of shuffling around a little bit. Anyway, yeah, I guess I'll just have a nice relaxing drink until some people start showing up, because there's no point explaining myself to nobody and then having to explain myself again. Cheers indeed, White Shark. Hello. I would like to stick my drink in front of the camera to show you, but that would mean literally just holding it above the motherboard, and I don't want to tempt fate. Anyway, it's just Monster Energy drink, but in a glass with ice. Because I took a while over it, and I was sort of nursing it for the last couple of hours, and it started getting a bit warm. But yeah, I should explain that is not all of the memory that I have. That is not even close to all of the memory. It's not even close to all of the DDR3 that I have, for that matter. I have a lot of memory. Well, that's the drink trunk. Right, so let me explain what I'm doing here then. I've been running the processor that's under there, which is an FX-8120, which I'm running in 1 core per compute unit mode, or 4 performance cores, as Tech Tested likes to call it. I forgot how I started that sentence, I'm sorry. But yes, I've been messing around with that processor, but I just kind of threw some random PSC on there and didn't really tune the memory. So this stream I'm going to be firstly testing out different memory, seeing how it performs, and secondly trying to actually tune the memory a little bit. So we begin with these rather snazzy Elixir sticks. Now, I should have thought this through. Do I have more that I can wave in front of the camera? Here we are. Is this the same? Yeah, here is another stick of the same model. So this is 1 gigabit Nanya C that it's using. which you can tell by the C9N at the end of the part number up there. The C is for the die revision, it's Nanya C. I'm not really expecting this to be the best, but it's going to be interesting. So, that's what we're doing today. Hello there, Yasarian. Just become conscious from the after party, of course. You've just had a 3-day-long overclocking event over in the US, haven't you? Yeah, you know, hopefully you'll have fully recovered by the time that the next one happens next month. How was it? Was it good? Alright. So, this was just me making sure that everything runs properly. So we've got our CPU at 4.5-ish. The memory's just at defaults at the moment. Ton of fun. We even had a local show up for the last few hours. I can hopefully get into LN2. Oh, brilliant. That's good news. I'm glad to hear it. Alright then. Let's do some memory overclocking. So, Nanya C is an interesting one. You could almost mistake it for PSC until you start pushing up clocks. After Party was a good decompression as well. Cigars and Japanese whiskey. Alright. That certainly sounds interesting. Yeah, the idea of just smoking but only at a party is an interesting one. Right. So this RAM should, when I've tested Nanya C before, hey Alex, not really, that's Nanya C, 1 gigabit, and I'm doing FX efficiency for SuperPi A10. But yeah, when I've tested it before, it will take 2 volts and scale. So 1.7 should be fine. I'm going to stick with 1600 at first. And yeah, let's see if it boots 888 for starters at 1.7 volts. I'm going to give it a hair more V-core than that, even though it did pass. Just to make sure it's stable. Alex says I got the FX system working. That's good news. Yeah, I kind of want to do a competition or something, maybe based around my Discord for this hardware, which would be interesting. Get a few more people benching it, you know. Figure out some kind of prize that's like worth bothering benching for, but like not that valuable, I guess. I don't know. Right, SuperPi. A10. Let's go. Ooh, you know what I could have done is I could have got a physical pen and paper notepad to hand. That would have been useful, wouldn't it? Yeah, well. I was going to shake the camera a bit, but as long as it's only in the top right, it's probably okay. Save as 8124p FE. Right. Okie dokie. Yoz says, can't wait for when it goes to other core counts. Found out at the meet my 6330 should validate over 8 on either of the first two modules at 2.1 volts, so should be a pretty good 3-core. Module 3 should do 7.9 valid. Wow! Yeah, that's good. Did you manage to get a valid on it then? Yeah, I'm really hoping that they do actually expand it. I mean, partially just because of the principle, just because of, you know, making sure that they're not just drawing the line around exactly what Alder Lake is, and, you know, they're actually applying, you know, a broader principle, rather than just defining it, you know, based on what it is that Intel are currently doing, because that's really important to me. And, you know, I don't think that anyone's, like, deliberately trying to favour Intel, but I do think that anyone who says that they don't have an unconscious bias of some kind is lying. So, you know. But yeah, you know, I fully believe everyone, you know, has the best of intentions and everything. What was I saying? But yeah, so the principle is one thing, but also, I mean, I feel a bit bad about the 3-core rankings, but the 1-core rankings, like, the fact that you need this, like, extremely rare CPU where you're paying, like, a lot of money for something that, you know, it's like you can't really bin them. It's just you either have the chip or you don't at this stage. You know, the only real way to get hold of one is to buy someone else's binning reject. You can't really actually genuinely compete. So it would be nice if the 1-core rankings got shaken up by FX-derived APUs running in 1-core mode. And, you know, if they're only one module, it's like the decoder, they have one decoder of the entire chip. The FPU, they have one FPU. They have one, I think it was level 1 data cache is the one that's shared. You know, that I think there's some stuff on the, like, the back end that's shared as well. So it's like, and okay, you know, level 2 cache is shared. That doesn't count. I don't care about that. You don't need a level 2 cache to make a core. That's not relevant. But like the front end, like the decoder, the fact that one of these, like, 2-core 1-module chips has one decoder, like, yeah. Right, so that's done. That's 3 minutes 42.098. So let's restart and let's see if I can do 777. It should do 777. Like, I've done 675 on this IC, on different sticks. And maybe I'm being a bit silly by running these sticks rather than the other ones that I've actually tested. Because these are just, like, random sticks. Whereas I have some sticks with the same IC that I know are actually good. So maybe once I run into a wall on these sticks, I'll just switch to the other ones with the same IC. If I can find them. Okay, A10, and let's go. Alex says, which RAM are we on? Copy PS. It's not. It's its own thing. That's the label. And that's what the stick looks like. I quite like the heat sinks. So it's actually made by Elixir, who are like Nanya's own in-house brand. It's 1 gigabit Nanya C, and as Yoz alluded to, especially at lower clocks, it can run PSC-like settings, although the behaviour seems to be a little bit different. But yeah. Yoss said, my opinion of 3-core is 6, 8, 10 etc. get new CPUs all the time, so about time 3 and 1 core get new CPUs. Yeah, that's an interesting one, because, you know, on the one hand it's kind of nice to have some categories that really are just staying still. But yeah, on the other hand, that's true, yeah. And to be honest, all the people who bench 3-core will enjoy running FX. Yes. Yeah, that's true. I think there might be 1 or 2 people who are sort of a little, like, maybe they've actually worked very, very hard to get top scores on 3-core, and they're a bit, you know, thinking that, well, it's never going to change. And then they're a bit disappointed that, oh, no, apparently it has changed. And, yeah, that's, you know, that is disappointing. But it's only disappointment, you know? It's not the end of the world. But, I don't know. It's also, it's funny because, like, whoever you're talking to, whatever side they're on, there's a tendency for some people will sort of, they will say that other people are only taking an opinion on how the rankings should be because they're thinking about their own points. Like, you know, people are only complaining about this change because they think their own points are going to go down. You know, personally, when I was complaining about, you know, older late getting 8-core rankings, I did have 8-core globals on a 5800X, but also it was stuff that already the 11900K was beating, 8-core Skylake X and derivatives were beating, so, you know, it's not like I was expecting to hang on to those anyway. But yeah, it's, I think, you know, sometimes when you disagree it can be difficult to see the other person's perspective, and maybe sometimes there's a tendency to look for explanations that aren't necessarily correct. Anyway, 3 minutes 41.820. That is actually slightly faster. Good. Because if that was slightly slower, I would have been really annoyed. But that does mean that what we're doing here is not completely pointless. That has shaved off a good 0.2 of a second there. I'll go to 676 and then I'll check chat again. Because if I start talking and just leaving the system not doing anything, then we'll be here forever. Well, we're going to be here forever anyway, but like, we'll be here forever without even getting anywhere. Actually, I'm going to try 1T first. Usarian says, I looked into a good 3-core Phenom and dethroned a lot of 2014 scores, so I think anyone that's active needs to be ready to rebench at any time. Yep, that's a fair point, that's a fair point. And you also have things where you might have different memory that appears as well. That's another factor. Like we had that with GDI appearing, for example. GDI is not necessarily that interesting for Phenom. But for other stuff it is pretty interesting. Calculate 8M, go. GPU Pi and X265 should get destroyed by ambient FX when the rules change, especially on 3-core, guess Y Cruncher 2. Yep, that's true. Alex says, are they changing the hardware bot rules? Did I miss that? No, not yet. So when the 4-core, the 4P core, as it were, FX categories are added, the categories that are, 4 module chips in 1 core per module mode, there was this kind of suggestion that depending on how those categories did, then categories for other, like, lower core count chips might be added. Or just other chips, because obviously right now it's really just a small handful of the total of different chips that are based on FX, or based on the kind of construction core architecture. So there hasn't been any official announcement or decision or anything. There hasn't even been a suggestion that a mod is inclined to do it at this time. However, because we've had, like, people have made LN2 scores on the 4P categories for FX, so Yasarian especially is very much hoping that the categories get expanded. There is a suggestion that effectively at some point there will be categories that are an FX-6000 series, for example, running in 1 core per compute unit mode, which will be counted as 3-core. And if that happens, then they will actually be competing against, Phenom X3s, competing against unlocked Phenom X2s, and that's going to be interesting. But there hasn't been an announcement or an actual change that you've missed yet. Oh no, I see. Yasarian talking about running Y Cruncher 10B single core. Because of course there are DDR4 chips based on construction cores. I'm interested in seeing the Athlon X2 DDR4. Is there an Athlon X2? I suppose there must be, mustn't there? List of APU. What was it? Was it Carrizo? Oh no, there's not an Athlon X2, is there? There's the... What is there on AM4? There's the Pro A6-8570? Oh wait, no, there's... No, okay, no, Bristol Ridge doesn't have an Athlon either. But there's the A6-9550, 9500 and 9400? And those are all 1 module, 2 core. So yeah, if those were to get categories for 1 core per module, those would be, competitive for globals in the same way that Alder Lake is competitive for globals. Aha! 3 minutes 40 seconds, 0.932. Nice, that's another solid improvement. That's a very solid improvement. That's almost a second off. I mean, it's not surprising. You would expect that, you know, going from 2T to 1T would help. 40.932. When did they add FX-8120 core per module rankings? It was around the same time as the Alder Lake launch. Because basically, I'd kind of left some thoughts in the thread, kind of saying, look, I think if you're going to do this, then you ought to add the categories for FX as well, because on FX, it's the same thing where in one core per module, you actually have more execution resources per core, in the same way that the P cores on Alder Lake have more execution resources than the E cores do. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not exactly the same, but I don't think that the standard ought to be, is it exactly the same? I think the standard should be, is it a similar principle? And it is a similar principle. And so I'd kind of said this in the thread, and then I checked out of it a bit because I didn't want to get into an argument or anything. I just wanted to say what I thought. But then when I went back, because they did go ahead and add the categories for Alder Lake, so I went back and looked, and DeBauer had kind of said something where he said, like, well, if people want, I'll add... He said if people want, then I'll change FX to be... for the modules to be counted as cores, which I thought was actually going a bit too far. I think that would be a bit overpowered. But yes, so I said, well, yeah, actually I think you should do this. You should add one core per module categories for FX. So Leakhooft has gone ahead and he's added them just for the 8-core 4-module chips at the moment. And no others so far. But he did say that he would add others at some point. Anyway, you got me talking, and I'm supposed to be overclocking memory. Which, to be fair, I'm very glad that I'm talking at the same time. I'm glad that, you know, I don't want to just watch SuperPi in silence. And I'm sure you don't want to watch SuperPi in silence either. And I still haven't sorted out music. I've been procrastinating badly on that. Let's try 676. That should work. 676 ought to work. It might need more voltage. Ooh, that was a C1. Yeah, that's C1ing. Okay. Well, it's going to go into recovery eventually, probably. All right. Where did I leave the other sticks with this IC? There were Corsair XMS2 of some description. That actually is that IC, but it's not been tested yet. What have we got here? Aha! Yeah, there we are. So those are the other ones that I've got. Those are the same IC, and I have actually done some testing on these already. So what have I got? There were... Oh, okay, that's... Oh, for goodness sake. So that one's something different. That's a random 8 gig stick. Okay. What's this? That's another 8. Oh, great. Wonderful. So I found one stick. Yoz says, to be honest, what I feel the best about is helping Tested beat an Alabello 955 score by lending him hypers. Nice. And you found 2 8G candidates. Nice. Yeah, that's great. Right, that's not going to recover on its own, is it? Well, that's up. I think I know where I left the other stick. I think it's in my shelving unit. Yep. Here we go. Found the other ones. Leave the reject behind. And there's the other one. Okay, actually, that's a good idea. I can just switch to these. Because that one is binned for 1.6125 volts and the other one is binned for even lower. I guess I'll put the low voltage stick on the inside. I'm just thinking the VRM is there, so presumably it's going to get more voltage out here than in there. They were binned on a different board. They were binned on an Asus M5A97 of some description. And with a Phenom, I think it was, rather than with FX. So there's no guarantees that they'll run as well, but you know, you don't know until you try. Okay, well, that's gone straight to running through the booting codes. So, is it a recovery screen? That looks good. I'm actually just going to load up CPU-Z quickly. Okay, well, the good news is that means that it was overclocked. So the overclock did apply. Critical process died. That's a new one. So I guess 1.75 volts then. And let's see if this makes it into Windows this time. Come on. Alex says, by the way, why are you on Windows 10? So, two reasons. This is not looking good, by the way. Reason number one is I had a Windows 10 setup that wasn't corrupted. Last stream was on Windows 7. That stream ended with that OS dying. Now, to be fair, I have it imaged, I can just re-image it. But the other reason is I have Benchmate set up on Windows 10, whereas Benchmate's a bit weird to get working on 7. And I'm running with the RAM disk tweak in Benchmate because I am a noob who can't WASA, and the RAM disk actually makes it a bit heavier on memory, a bit more stressful on the memory. So running SuperPi with Benchmate using the RAM disk just means that the memory is getting hit a little bit harder, and hopefully helps make up a little bit for the fact that I'm not doing a very thorough test. Right. Oops. Yeah, I'm going to try booting in at 777 again. That TRAS, that ought to go a lot lower, so I'll need to try that. But I just want to make sure the OS isn't balked. So I'm going to boot in and I'm going to run SuperPi, even though these are settings that I've already tried. I mean, hopefully I'm going to boot in and run SuperPi. Okay. I'm going to back off to 1.7 volts. And then I'm going to loosen out to 2T888. If that doesn't work, I don't know. I feel as though I might have managed to corrupt the operating system already, which I think might be a new record. Oh, okay, no. I've not corrupted the operating system, that's interesting. Okay, well, let's just, thanks, benchmate. Yusamian says you should install 3D Mark to run those 3 DirectX 12 CPU tests. That is a GT610. It would be interesting at some point. They take quite a long time, don't they? Or no, I'm thinking of the storage benchmark. Believe it or not, it supports DirectX 12 and is good enough. Oh, shit. Okay. I guess it's a possibility then. Maybe if I run out of RAM to test. So, mark your calendar down for July next year. Yours also said, why am I dumb? Just offered $70 a piece for 9 9590s. I don't know, what batch are they? It does seem a little high though, yeah. I guess you can get decent globals from frequency validation. I don't know. The CPU profile bench takes forever because you have to run all thread counts to get a valid score, but you get multi and single core score. Okay. So it is a long one then. Similarly, have to wait through a full TSE run for a valid score. Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. So it's long, but it's not like PC Mark long. You know, I'm wondering if the Corsair stuff can't do 1T. Maybe that was the problem. This is going to be a Buildzoid tier stream, except without the sort of... well, without any music, to be fair. For the 9590, no idea on batch, but market is fucked. Okay. Well, fingers crossed you get good ones. I think one of the dangers of watching overclocking streams, like this one right now, for example, is that you kind of think, oh, that looks like fun, I want to join in. And then, like, because you're not in a position where you can actually go overclock something right now, you end up buying something that you like the idea of overclocking later, even if you already have something to overclock. And it's like, you know, buying more things to overclock isn't going to help you overclock stuff if you've already got stuff to overclock. That's the problem I used to have. Anyway, so, you know, that's just me. You know, watching Buildzoid streams and buying LAN parties. Well, I suppose a LAN party is a good investment. He also says, for Country Cup, I think it's expected that US will get 3x8G, so I want to bin some more chips for like 8.3 or more. Oh yeah, that's a good idea, yeah. I don't know how things are in Australia this year. I mean, they're getting hit pretty hard at the moment with COVID and everything. But yeah, I think 3.8 gigahertz scores is not going to be enough to take that stage. Alright, so that finished. It was 3 minutes 42, which is about right for the settings it was running. Okay. So let's see if it can just do the tested settings, but at 2T, because it seems like it might need 2T. So that would be 6, 7, 5, and I think I had that down to 15. That's probably fine. Six, 7, 5, 15, 2T, 1.7 volts. It's posted. Done. What if it's CL? So that's 1600, 775, 15, 2T, 1.7 volts. Interesting. Okay. That's very interesting. Maybe FX has a weird issue with CL6. I don't think I've seen, like... I looked at the top scores on FX and I didn't see CL6 scores. It's all like PSC at CL7. So yeah, maybe that's an issue. I don't know. Actually, if FX can only do CL7 and up, that could make Micron more viable. But I might be getting ahead of myself there. Alex and Yoz are talking about how many percent of the FX chips are 8 GHz or better. Yoz says, don't know about scientifically useful percentage. Out of the 6 to 7 FX chips I had lying around, 2 are 8G possible, but most of those are 4100. What? As in FX 4100s, the quad cores? Or oh right, no, I see what you mean. So 2 of them are 8 GHz candidates, but oh right, I get you. So the ones that aren't 8 GHz candidates are mostly FX 4100s. I see. Yeah, I think the 4100s are pretty poor just in general. Said you've got a 4200 that you didn't test because you don't feel like bending pins. Yeah, the FX 4200 is really interesting because that actually comes in 1 core per compute unit. So it's a really interesting one. If only they had made more like it. So the 4200 is kind of like what you have now. Yeah, it is, Alex, exactly. That's an 8120, but I've configured it in BIOS to 1 core per module. The 4200 just comes that way. Sadly, there isn't a pile driver equivalent. It's only a bulldozer. Just that one chip. But yeah, it does mean it's an absolute beast as far as like quad-core DDR3 based AMD goes. It's yeah, it's interesting. The funny thing about seeing this is you do sort of think, well, how strong would FX have been if they didn't segment the integer units? If they actually had a full, full strength integer unit that didn't have a division down the middle? And if they'd actually been quad core chips. So that's 41.966. Oof. That kind of sucks. I'm going to try slightly looser TRAS. In fact, I'm going to try much looser TRAS. I'm going to try TRAS of 20, I think. Because I have seen negative performance scaling with excessively low TRAS. Oh. Go away, Benjamin. Why is the system being slow now? actually being kind of weird and unresponsive. That's interesting. Like, I told you to restart. Why aren't you restarting? Like, it's so annoying how it's like the mouse is still moving, but like nothing else is happening. Why? Why are you like this? Yeah, fuck it. Right. Has there ever been an FX-8120 that did 8 GHz? Just while this boots. Assuming it boots. Hardware bot 4100. CPU frequency, there hasn't. 7.7 is the best on hardware bot. Wait, what's it doing? Oh, what? Okay, this is what I get for not paying attention. So... hell. Are the sticks warm? Sticks don't feel warm. The heat pipes on the cooler don't feel warm either. Yoz says, shit, I wasted time in LN2, luckily we had plenty. I mean, it wouldn't have been a waste if you got more than 7.7 GHz. There's solid hardware points to be had there. They can't post 7.2. Oh, okay. So I'm going to boot in at optimized defaults because this should be fine. I don't know why it's not working. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that loosening TRAS would result in not booting into Windows. And given that Windows was being weird a minute ago, it makes me think, oh, has Windows died already? Which is not the first time that I've thought that, but, you know. Of course, it's failed to boot twice, so we get automatic repair anyway, which... I imagine Forks or Crispy is going to tell me that... Oh, we've got diagnosing your PC. Okay. Yeah, someone's going to say that can be disabled. Normally it would just be like, oh, do you want to restart? No! Oh, it's actually balked. Sweet! We've got our first operating system corruption of the stream. Hooray! Alright, well... This way. Oh, that was loud. Sorry. Booting to repair can mean mem is too tight. Loosening it up can fix it. Yeah, but that was at default. Sean just joined. Yep. You imaged, right? Oh, yes. Mercuria. No results found for Mercuria. Thank you, Windows 10. Mercurium Reflect. I don't care that there's a new version. Restore. Is that the most recent? That's the most recent. Yeah, I think that's right. Destination, local disk F. Yep. And oh right, I have to check a box. There we go. Continue. That's going to be fairly quick. Yeah, I've started bothering with imaging because I'm streaming, because I would rather my OS dying wasn't the end of a stream. Now, if I was just benching on my own, it's like, you know, whatever, I'll just, I don't know, I'll throw on an episode of old Top Gear or something. But yeah. So, instead it's about halfway through now, and we'll be back up and running in minutes. Maybe if I was savvier this would be an excuse for an ad break, but no, I don't think so. I would rather sit here and just talk complete nonsense about absolutely nothing, which is part of the course really, isn't it? Oh, and 69%. We're getting there, we're getting there. A lot better than it would be otherwise. So yeah, Forks is up, don't know why he's not watching. No, you know, he doesn't have to watch. Crispy says, oops, wiping phone screen. I thought you were just going to sleep. It's nearly done, don't worry. But yeah, like, I'm not gonna like make people watch to find out what the results were. I'll probably post the results in Discord, you know, at the risk of just immediately decimating my view account by saying like, you're not going to miss anything, but you know, you're not. Is that ejected? Should be. Also, I can imagine Forks might have, I don't know. I mean, he was at the meet as well, wasn't he? So he's probably a little bit tired too. Right. Let's go. We both managed to not get hungover. Well done. That's always good. I think I did the image with a Sempron 130. So it might need a minute just to kind of sort itself out. I'm going to feel like an idiot if this doesn't boot in. Okay, no, here we are. Turn GUI boot off. I have no idea how to do that. I'll be honest, this OS is not necessarily that good. I think I still have AMD display drivers installed. Why would I expect... I don't know. I don't think we do. Okay. That's probably fine. Alright. msconfig, boot tab, no GUI boot, make permanent. Fair enough. Right, yeah, I was going to run SuperPi just to make sure that everything's vaguely in order. Oh, hold on. I had LPM enabled before. Right. Why would you want to turn off GUI boot? Because it makes loading faster and it skips loading the Windows logo, says Crispy Silicon. You know, the fact that like having to load the Windows logo would be something that made booting noticeably slower is one of those things that I wish I was surprised by that. I wish I didn't believe you. I wish I was going, no, that can't be right. But I completely believe you at this point. Like, yeah, of course loading the Windows logo would slow it down. Oh, you know what I should do? Is I should have a thing, in, like how I keep track of scores in the title, I should have something in the title for a number of OS deaths. There we go. OS corruption count 1 and counting. Maybe that's how I'll do timestamps when I finally get around to putting this one on YouTube, which I am so behind on that. I really need to set some time aside to do it. But yeah, I'll just do timestamps like first OS death, second OS death. Or just do it by OS, like first OS, second OS, third OS, whatever. We'll see how it goes. I don't understand why 77515 like killed the OS. But I'm gonna try 77520 once this is completed. Some of the subtimings might end up being different because about wait no, I can load a profile, it'll be fine. Cool, good. No need to worry about subtimings. Loop 15, not bad, doing well. I'm not really expecting this Nanya stuff to actually be that competitive, but I don't know. Also, I need to try it at higher clocks. I guess I'll do that next. Well, it'll be the other thing I do next, so. Yeah. Nearly there now. Oh wait, no, we're miles off. Oh right, the CPU core is at default speeds. Oh, okay. Alright, well, you know what? Sod it. Clearly it's running fine. Let's load up the profile and go again. If it just kills the OS again, it will be quite funny, to be fair. Right, load. And has that actually loaded my timings this time? It has! Wonderful. Whereas if I had a DRAM EOCP set to some kind of enabled, then that would overwrite my timings when loading the profile, which is a wonderful little feature. Thank you for that, Gigabyte. But the good news is it won't. Or hasn't, or doesn't, or won't. It's fine, is my point. Huh. That was the no GUI boot, or what? No, who cares? It has, one of the interesting things about streaming is you have so many different people who are watching, and like different people will yell at me for different things that like they're little tweaks and optimizations that they do all of the time, but that I haven't learned to do yet. Like with 3D Mark 05, if you set it to run the CPU tests as well, then you just escape out of the CPU test, then you can still get a score from the graphics tests. And for some reason the score comes a hell of a lot faster. So that's a neat little tweak that saves, you know, some minutes. You can also run with system info disabled, that saves some time as well. So, yeah, both cool little things. I'll be really interested how this goes, because like I've seen negative performance scaling with TRAS too low before. I'll be really interested to see if it happens here. Although it's going to be a little bit difficult to tell for certain what's causing it. But we'll see. We will see. So what's everyone up to today then? Anyone else overclocking? I mean, I imagine a lot of the American viewers are probably heading home from the meet. I say a lot of the American viewers are heading home from the meet. Hopefully you're not like watching a stream and driving or anything like that. So rather a lot of the American non-viewers are heading home from the meet. Well, depending on how people got there. I suppose you got there by train. Alex says I'm downloading CS and watching your stream while it's downloading. Fair enough, fair enough. Oh right, yeah, because you're running a retro system now, right? And I guess Counter-Strike's probably going to run alright on that. I say retro, it's also FX, isn't it? Which I suppose counts as retro. Yeah. Ooh. 8120 plus 7870. Nice. Nice. That's about period correct, isn't it, on the graphics card? Gil says, yeah, Forks is 2 hours from me, so he's going to chill here a bit before heading home. But Matt, FZR, and JCOC are all heading home. Yeah, cool. Blue Poor Wolf says, playing World of Tanks and having you as a nice background voice. Oh, thanks. I have mixed feelings about my voice as a sort of voice for radio, but I suppose anyone who likes Buildzoid is probably going to be fine with my voice as well. Aha! 3 minutes 42.211. So that was slightly slower than with the tighter TRAS, but I don't know if that's just because the OS is like, I don't know. It's not the same OS is the thing. Nonetheless, let's try going back to 1T now we're at CL7. Because I think it might have been CL7 that was the issue. Oh, that's not a good sign. I don't think ATEM is a very good stability test. I'll give it more memory voltage as well. I'll go to 1.75 volts. But yeah, it might be that our TRP is a bit too low here. Alex was saying, I'll swap in the 390X once I have Counter-Strike downloaded, or I'll swap in dual 690s. Because why not? Yeah, that sounds fun. Oh, hello. Critical process died. Yay. FYI, the 8120 was released in October 11, the 7870 in March 12. Yeah, cool. That's really close together. That makes it about period correct, doesn't it? God, I remember in, you know what, actually, I'll, let's go 2T776? Yeah. And we'll just... Oh shit, that's not a good sign. Okay, there's nothing I can do about that, is there? Well, I think... so for those who are only listening, the 990FX-UD7 is currently updating the backup BIOS to the latest version. Well, as long as the main BIOS doesn't corrupt, we're fine. But yeah, that's not a good sign for the memory stability, is it? If it thinks that the backup BIOS is wrong. That's a bit disconcerting. Okay. I thought I loosened that out a bit, so maybe it doesn't like the higher voltage on this platform, or on this setup, or on this motherboard for that matter. Ooh, that BIOS is looking a bit funky. That's some interesting visual artifacts there. Yeah, we're loosened out, so... Let's go back to 1.7 volts and see what happens. Well, we've got the please wait. Aha! Okay, no, that's fine. It's restart my PC. That's okay. So, it looks like maybe, at least on this cooling setup, the Nanya's rolling over around 1.7. Oh, that's not a good sign. That should be fine. And the fact that it's not being fine is concerning. Either it's the memory being weird, or the OS is dead again already. How many OS deaths should it take for me to give up on a set of RAM? Do you think 3? 2 or 3? Yes, save a profile, load defaults, then put it back in 1 core per CU, disable peripherals. I should really save a profile that's just peripherals disabled. Okay, let's see if that survives then. So this is defaults, which means if this fails to boot into the OS is balked. If it succeeds, which it looks like it's doing, then the memory was unhappy. Looks like the memory was unhappy, so I'm thinking maybe... because there's like a bit of like... I mean, the heat sinks don't feel warm at all. There's not that much passive airflow. So maybe that's the memory getting too hot. I'm going to put it through an 8M run just to make sure the OS isn't dead, I guess. But add fan, says Crispy. Yeah, I'm reluctant just because it doesn't feel warm, but that's probably sensible, isn't it? Yeah, I guess so. Because I would like to test the Nanya at higher clocks if I can. Right. There we go. I suppose the 8M run is going to be a bit of time for the fan to cool the memory down a bit. Get it down to kind of a steadier state. Yours says, posted the pic with all of us at the after party on Discord is a good pic. Oh. Oh, nice. Matt with a cigar. That's a look. I mean, it works. Who's the guy in the VMware t-shirt? Fuck me! Sorry, I just noticed all of the bottles on top of the cupboard. Good God. Ah, it's forks. Ah, cool. And what else? There's you in the sapphire jacket and hat, yours. And then there's someone in a... What is that, an Aura Sync hoodie? The bottles are my mid-20s sense of decoration past few years. That's still a lot. I mean, maybe that's just by my standards. I very rarely drink. Like, I'll have like maybe... It's less than once a week that I drink. Oh, right, JackNat RGB. Okay, of course. So that's FZR. Right, yeah, that makes sense. And then JCOC on the far left. Cool. Yeah, it's a funny one. Like, I'm not drinking tonight. Hold on. That's frozen. The motherfucker's frozen. Why is it frozen? Anything like overheating? I don't think so. .610 is warm, but no more than warm. But is it singing Let It Go? Hello, the Jared Wolcott. I'm using a Wraith Prism cooler. even though it's on an older platform, because the clips are compatible. It looks like Windows hasn't loaded correctly. I shouldn't be getting that right now, should I? Well, let's restart it and see what happens. I'm pretty sure it's at default. Maybe the CPU temperatures are actually higher than I realised. So that's something I ought to keep an eye on. Although, again, it's at sodding default. Yoz said I had a Corsair Formula Z let go this weekend, had it labelled maybe dead, tried to post and VRM caught fire. Thanks for the vote of confidence. I mean, to be fair, this 990FX-UD7 is my crap one. Like, the board itself has problems with any meaningful base clock overclock. Like, it won't even do 250 base clock without a hell of a fight. Would it help troubleshooting anything if you got a heat camera? It'd be interesting. I don't know how much use it would really be, but it'd be cool. Alright, let's run Pi again, but now we're looking at temperatures as well. So we have a CPU readout here on the motherboard, which is probably socket temperature. Yoz says has plenty of boards work, but tested them all this meet. Ah, cool. Well, it's good to know where you stand. Even if where you stand is in some cases at a safe distance. Alex says you could use it if you have a GPU and inject voltage to see if there's any heat anywhere. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's how you find shorts, right? Is you get like an E-power and you put maybe a volt into the 6-pin connectors or the 8-pin connectors, and you just see like if anything starts smoking on the PCB. I love that because it's like it's a very legitimate diagnosis and repair technique, but it's also like, you know those photos of like plugs where they've just wired mains to neutral directly and it's just labelled like breaker finder? It really puts me in mind of that. It's like something that can just dump a ton of current into the power planes and it's just labelled short finder. But it's true. I mean, it works. Yoz says breaker finders aren't unheard of and work well. I mean, yes. Yeah, I can't argue that you're wrong, but I'm really reluctant to agree with you. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't like it. The alternative is plug lights into every outlet and see what goes off when you flip a breaker. That does seem like the better way of doing it, but I can see how it's more work. So, socket temperatures topping out at under 50 degrees. the CPU reported temperature is topping out at around 38 AM degrees, which is not the same thing as Celsius, in fact. So the OS is working right now. Yours says, got an electrician friend, someday we'll do it and get my breaker box properly labelled. Old houses are fun. Yeah, I bet. It's probably a good idea. I guess it's one of those things where it's probably really inconvenient to do because you have to go around and unplug everything. But then once you've done it, you never have to do it again. And I guess also, if you have a different separate problem, then you would maybe also have to figure out which breaker is which. So it means that whenever you have a different separate problem, you don't also have to deal with finding out what breaker's what. Alright, well, ATEM has finished now, this time at defaults, so I'm going to try and run it with a memory overclock again. Maybe just having the fan on the memory has helped. Maybe that's wishful thinking, who knows? Profiles. Yeah, that's a loose profile that ought to work. I say loose. It's not an especially demanding profile, and therefore it ought to work. It might literally just be that, like, the memory chips are a bit cooler now, having had the fan running for a while. You know, maybe TRC-D7 is actually a little bit harder than I gave it credit for. Maybe TRC-D7 is harder on FX than it is on Phenom, for that matter. This does raise the possibility that Nanya would scale from, like, sub-zero cooling. That would be fun. Okay, yeah, I am going to fire up hardware info. Which does mean that this run is not valid for, like, efficiency. But I do want to have the information. I hit 1M rather than 8M. Okay, let's do that properly this time. Alright. So far it's actually looking like the CPU is cooler, which does make sense because with the profile loaded the fan is maxed. What was yours saying? Once had a knob and tube wire, I couldn't figure out where it went, so just cut it. A single light bulb on the first floor doesn't work now. The wire I cut was in the attic. Okay, so I'll be honest, I don't know what a knob and tube wire is. But I get the general impression that that's pretty cursed. KBO? I don't know what a KBO and tube wire is either, so... Knob and tube is an old American standard, basically just run a hot and a neutral stroke ground. Ah, combined neutral and ground, lovely. Well, ATEM is running, so that's nice. Oh, wow. Okay, so I looked it up and that looks really cursed. So, like, the knobs are things that attach the wire to studs, and the tubes are for the wire going through studs. Wow, yeah, that looks really sketchy. Like, I mean, I'm sure it's not actually sketchy, but it looks really sketchy. Like, I'm just going to post in chat what I'm looking at. Yoz said separate wires often bare. The knob part is a ceramic thing that holds it away from the stud. Oh, so it actually is sketchy. Cool. That's right. The idea that those are just like bare metal wires carrying like high voltage is terrifying. Wikipedia says single insulated, which is like still not great, I guess. The first insulation was asphalt saturated cotton cloth. Blech, let me try that again. Asphalt saturated cotton cloth. I mean, I guess that's kind of neat, but yeah. Hella sketchy, 100% fire hazard. Fair enough. The way regulations work is if you open a spacer and see it, you have to replace it. That makes sense, yeah. Right, well. So, ATEM finished. The temperatures are completely fine, very in check. Oh, fuck me. I'm going to lose some TRCD. For those who are just listening, that was another B-sod when just closing Benchmate. Alex says, does SuperPi allow you to export the values it's calculated for what pi is? No, that's an interesting question. I assume there's some kind of check though. Like it probably like checks the later digits or something. Right, well it booted straight back into OS. That's actually a really good sign. So let's run ATEM. So I'm just going to put those last settings down as crash after run. and we're going to do a proper run now with 78620, and we'll see how that does. Yours said, when I opened the floor it looked like just enough had been replaced to make the inspector think it was all replaced. Of course I made sure I had no live knob and tube before I closed the floor again. Yeah, that's horrifying. It's nowhere near on the same level, but like it does remind me a little bit of sorting stuff out with my car so that like I'm happy with it. Because like the more I look at it, the more it's like, okay, there's been a corner cut here. So like the timing belt, that haven't had that replaced yet. That's actually a week and a half from now. That's booked in for. But that's supposed to be done every 150,000 miles or 10 years. Now, the car has only done like 50,000 miles, or 52,000 I think. But it's also 15, 16 years old. So the timing belt should have been done a few years ago, and it wasn't. And then the other thing is the tyres. Like, the back tyres date back to 2011. So they're good tyres, but they have plenty of tread on them, but they're really old. And once a tyre is that old, the rubber's not going to be very good anymore. Then the front tyres, I think there was a previous suspension issue that was leading to uneven wear. So one of the front tyres got replaced a couple of years ago, but only one of them. So you have like this random like shit like arrow speed piece of crap on one side and then a Firestone tyre on the other side. That's just not ideal. And also, like, where I live is a bit colder. It gets pretty cold in winter sometimes. They're summer tyres. They're designed to work, you know, at temperatures that are like above freezing, really. They're designed to work best at like 7 degrees or better. Now, that's not the biggest issue ever, but it's not nothing, you know? I mean, if you're on a wet road and it's cold, then summer tyres are not ideal. And I did on one occasion actually manage to spin the front wheels when pulling away. Now, to be fair, the car stalls easily, and I was giving it a lot of right foot to stop it from stalling, because, you know, it was not long after I first got it, when I was just being lent it, so, you know, I wasn't used to it yet, so I was just erring on the side of caution. But still, it's disconcerting, you know? Like a 1.4 litre diesel spinning the wheels. So yeah, I got all of the tyres replaced yesterday with good tyres. Which isn't cheap, but then again I also sold my 5800X, and those don't go cheap either, so yeah. Right, well, 3 minutes 42.198. So that's I mean, that's kind of slow, but let's since that worked, let's go back to trying 1T again, because I think we may have succeeded in hunting down the issue with this configuration. So I'll respond to chat in a minute. Just if I start talking now, I'll forget what I'm doing. Well, it's booted right in at 1T now that the RCD is a bit looser, so that's a really good sign. It wouldn't surprise me if the Elixir heatsinks are actually a bit better than the Corsair ones. Because if you look at the Elixir stick that I was using before, I mean, it's just a solid sheet of aluminium, you know, with a bit of ink on it. Whereas the Corsair one it's a bit fancier, but it's like kind of, I think it must be coated in plastic or something. It doesn't look so good. Anywho, that's just Benchmate being Benchmate. Right. Yasarian said 4x good tyres easily costs 1k. Nowhere near, mate. Nowhere near. I guess accounting for the dollars conversion, I would say half that. You know, I got the tracking done as well, which it was only out by 2.5 degrees according to the technician. So I don't really know, like, if that's good or bad, but the way that he said it like it didn't really need doing. But yeah. So the tyres I went with are Michelin Cross Climate 2s, but you have to bear in mind that my car has fairly small wheels, so they won't have been that big. So that probably makes them a lot cheaper. I think the price for the tyres themselves was like 80 quid each, something like that. But yeah, I read some reviews and the Cross Climate 2s are like really, really good for wet braking and stuff. Alex says, Mick, don't you normally swap to winter tyres in the winter? No, not in the UK. That's not normalised in the UK at all. I think it probably should be normalised in the UK, but yeah, like if you get snow, then you get people driving in the snow on summer tyres. Because that's just what people normally, because in the UK people just act like our weather is always mild. Now, to be fair, the argument on the other side of that is, well, stick with the summer tyres, but also, you know, if you get snow or ice, just don't drive. But yeah, because where I live is very wet, because it gets a bit colder, and to be completely honest, because I would like the option to actually be able to, like, I want to go up to Scotland at some point, and, you know, I don't want to be fucked if it snows while I'm up there. So I'm a lot more comfortable having a set of all-weather tyres that are actually capable of handling snow, if it happens. Yoss said, I just use all-weather. Some places they have snow tyres with spikes in them. Pretty sure it's illegal in my state. Yeah, it probably should be. Alex says, here you get fined if you don't have winter tyres when it's slippery, and everyone changes to winter tyres. Yeah. I mean, that's very sensible, but you're in, what, Norway, right? So you have much, much harsher winters. Here, it's like, you can go a full winter without snow. Or especially like without snow that settles. Everyone complains about the Europeans with summer tyres in the winter. Well, yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, the fact is, when you have snow here, you also see people sliding around all over the place. So, yeah. It is really interesting, like, because I think in the UK it's really, really normalised to, like, just drive on summer tyres and not even think about it, and not even drive on good summer tyres, like just drive on shit summer tyres and just be like, oh well, a tyre's a tyre. Anyway, what have we got? 3 minutes 42.166. Wow. That was barely any better. But it did pass and it was better. Right. And it hasn't blue screened on restart. The slight risk is that I know that my family may or may not be watching the stream, like my mum might be watching. She's going to go, oh, what are you doing spending money on winter tyres? Don't need, well, they're not even winter tyres, they're all-weather tyres, but, you know. The tyres that were on there did have plenty of tread left, but the back ones are so old, like, even with plenty of tread left, I wasn't really like, having actually talked to people about it, not great. Mismatched tyres on the front, again, not great. You can have a mismatch between front and back, but not, like, either side of the front. That's not great, really. So, yeah. Again, it's like, well, it depends what you're doing, but it's one of those things where it's a risk, right? You end up in the extreme situation. Anyway. I'm going to go back down to 15 TRAS and I'm going to see what happens. But yeah, it's like, the thing is, ending up in an extreme situation, like, it's not just driving like recklessly and irresponsibly. You end up in an extreme situation if, like, you know, the weather changes while you're out. You end up in an extreme situation if, like, I don't know, maybe there's a big puzzle that you didn't see coming. You know, if you're going down the motorway and there's surface water, then it's like, well, you don't want to end up aquaplaning. But also you don't want to necessarily brake excessively harshly, especially if it's a bit damp, because what are the people behind you going to do? And also, if you're driving really slowly on the motorway, that's a hazard in itself. At the end of the day, you know, lots of people do run summer tyres in the UK without a problem, shit summer tyres at that, and they're fine. But, you know, it's just what makes me feel, you know, comfortable, I guess. It's nice to feel like I've sort of sorted the vehicle out, taken responsibility for it, all of that. Where were we? Yoz was saying some people put chains on their tyres, but again it tears up the roads if there's no snow. People drive around with snow chains on when there's no snow? That's... yeah, that's a bad idea. Alex says, quick update, CS is downloaded, but I swapped to the 390X. Yeah, fair enough. Crispy says, I use UHP all seasons. I'm not enough of a car person to immediately recognise that, but let me do a thing. Oh, right, UHP is in ultra high performance. Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. Yeah, that's cool. Never had a problem even in ice. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you have good tyres, then, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like you can drive normally on ice. You're still on ice, but, like, it's less of a problem, it's less of a risk. Yoz says, usually not, but there are some dumb people. Yeah. I mean... yeah, that's the issue, isn't it? I guess it's... yeah, well, anyway. About $140 each. Nice, that's not too bad, not too bad. For what it is. I've wrecked on ice. Wait, so never had a problem. Oh, wait. So you started using the UHP all seasons after wrecking on ice, or? RIP 86 Mustang. Oof. That sucks. Yeah. That's going to be rear wheel drive as well, which probably doesn't help. Correct. Yeah, I can see why after that happening you would not want to fuck around with ice anymore. Had factory gator backs before. I don't know what a gator back is either, but I'm assuming it's not designed for ice. Summer high performance tyre. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, Goodyear summer tyre, yeah. One of the things that I paid attention to when I was looking at tyres was things like fuel economy, right? And the Michelin Cross Climate 2s that I've got are... they're actually rated for better fuel economy than the crappy summer tyres. So it's not just that they... it's not just that I'll be able to stop in the wet. It's not just that I'm not going to aquaplane going over a puddle. It's that... it's not just that I can handle snow and ice. It's that actually the car's going to run more efficiently anyway, because they're just better. Also almost killed me going over a fucking bridge. Jeez, yeah, that would put the wind up you. Yeah, absolutely. Bridges freeze first, got to be careful. Yeah, that makes sense. The slits in the tyres exactly matched grills in bridge. Car went totally out of control across it. Oof. Okay, 3 minutes 42.066. So that's faster. So that means that so we're not down to the speeds that the other set was doing, which is interesting. But then the other set was at TRAS 7, so yeah. And this set does seem to... I was going to say it seems to be better on TCL, but like I've not got TCL 6 working, so yeah. Right. Yeah, there's a little bit, like maybe 50 miles south of where I live, there's a great big, like, I think it's actually called I think it's Thelwall Viaduct on the M6, but it's like, it's this great big, like, bridge over some great big river that goes through, like, Liverpool and Manchester. I don't remember which one, what the name of it is. But, like, it's kind of terrifying, because it like, feels... the way it's been architected, it feels a bit like you're kind of in the air, like you're flying. Which is... it can be a bit scary. Even in the dry. A bit windy as well. Right. What I'm actually going to do... Oh, do I want to do this? I'm thinking about changing back to the Elixirs. Yeah, let's do that. I'll switch back to the Elixirs, and I'll see if I can run TRCD7 again, and if it's happy with all the other timings. I wasn't actually expecting to have a problem with TRCD, but there you are. I'll try the same settings first, I suppose. So I won't mess with anything, I'll just boot back in and run 8M again. There we go. Alright. Well, it's booting up. That's the first good sign. It'd be funny if this just ends up randomly faster, like something about the PCB has made the RTLs better or something. Na 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 Nanya. Right. Well, now that's running. So I have a funny story about snow and ice, and I guess sort of about tyres. Which is, when I was a bit younger, my family had this whole thing where, as a Christmas holiday, we would go up to the northwest coast of Scotland. And we'd spend Christmas in a holiday cottage on the northwest coast of Scotland. It's a lot cheaper in the winter, but not only is it cheaper, also there's less midges, less biting insects to deal with, so that's nice. And it is pretty up there, and it's pretty up there even in the winter, even if it's a little bit chilly as well. And it means you're more likely to get a white Christmas, you're more likely to get snow, so that's nice. And this one year, oh boy did we get snow. Now the thing is, there was quite a steep little road between where we were staying and the main road. And the main road was, you know, gritted and ploughed and everything. But the little road connecting to it was not. And there's this steep hill that we have to get up. So we pack everything in the car, and it's like a Ford, I think it was like an S-Max. Like front wheel drive, fairly heavy car. You know, at least it wasn't rear wheel drive. That had a lot of trouble. Like, we went up that hill and slid back down multiple times. It was mostly icy as well as snowy, so like we put a set of snow chains on. We actually ended up breaking the snow chains. But the snow chains kind of bashed the ice enough to, like, you know, break the ice, crack through the ice. So we eventually got up that hill, but that was a hell of a thing. So what my family started doing since then, and this was actually kind of something that I suggested to them as a joke, and they took up unironically, is instead they get the train to Inverness, and then they rent a 4x4 in Inverness, and they use that for the week rather than driving up. Just so that if it snows again, they don't get stuck. Which is very sensible. It's a bit, you know, sort of safer in the snow as well, which is nice. But yeah, I don't know what tyres that S-Max was on, but I assume it was probably on summer tyres. You know, just up in Scotland, height of winter, snow and ice. I mean, no wonder it struggled, right? So, given that I do like the idea of going up to Scotland, taking a holiday in Scotland in the winter at some point, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, am I likely to do that within the lifespan of these tyres? I think probably. So, you know, nice to be prepared for that. Aha! Pi calculation is done. 41.890. Yeah, that's faster. What? Okay, now I want to know if I can replicate that. Yoz says, funny you'll go north for winter, we go south here. Look, going north for winter is not a British thing, it is very much a my family thing. Right. Because that was, like, noticeably faster, I want to swap back and rerun. I want to see, is that variance, or is there something more to it? Is it, like, maybe the SPD is setting some timings differently, or maybe it's the PCB. Maybe there's, like, some kind of, like, round-trip latency thing that's getting tighter. I know the Elixirs, they're on, like, a Nanya-made PCB. Or, actually, I say that, I'm not 100% sure if Nanya themselves make the PCB. I know Nanya are in the business of making PCBs, or at least have been at some point. I think I've seen, like, an old, like, slot-based Pentium 3, or Pentium something, that actually had a Nanya PCB marking on it, which was cool. I don't know if they made their own PCBs for this, but I've not seen the PCBs on anything else, so they at least had a hand in designing them. Oh, there's like a really tantalising mark in the corner of the PCB that's just not visible under the heat spreader. That's annoying. Let me show you. It's like, is that gonna? Yeah, it's like just under there. I think you can kind of see that. Anyway, let's find out if it was random variance or if it's actually a PCB thing. Because if the Elixir PCB is just better, that's really interesting. Although the other funny thing is, like, the Corsair PCB, I don't know what PCB it is, but I think it's some kind of Corsair design specifically. But I don't know much else about it. Right, actually, while that's running, I could do with just a very quick bio break and just refilling my bottle of water. Okay, I don't have a BRB screen set, or do I? No, that's useless. Okay, I don't have a BRB screen set up that shows the system, so I guess you'll just get to see the camera feed for like the next 2 minutes. Hello there. Hello, Tutankhamun Jr.? Most numbers never end. Oh, right, yeah, cool. Most numbers because... Yeah. Because integers end, you know, 1, 2, 3, whatever. But, like, you know, 1/9 never ends. Yeah, that, I mean, fair enough. Yeah, that is kind of freaky. Right. 3 minutes 42.111. Yeah, okay. So this is really, really interesting. Is relative, but so I run on this Corsair stuff. I get 3 minutes 42.066. Then I switch to Elixir stuff with the same chips. Don't change any settings. 3 minutes 41.89. Switch back to the Corsair 42.111. So the Elixir stuff is like, you know, 0.2 of a second faster at the same settings so far. I'm going to switch back to the Elixir again. But yeah, which is also freaky. I mean, arguably not as freaky as numbers never ending, to be fair. But it's, you know, it's freaky in its own way. At least I have an idea of why it might be, just because, like, you know, some timings just come, like, I know, it might be that there's some timings that are being set, you know, by the stick, even though I think they're all explicit. 0.2 seconds, how many percent is that? Not a lot. You know, the overall run is close to 4 minutes. But it matters. So I do competitive overclocking, and at, you know, every like 0.1 of a second matters when you're trying to like beat someone else's score. And the whole thing that I'm doing here is I'm trying to get through a whole load of different memory that I have to test. So I actually I've got one tray just there, but like I have many more trays. So yeah, every 0.1 of a second counts. So the question, would that be within margin of error? That's what I'm trying to find out here. So, you know, I switched the memory, I ran it at the same settings and I saw the difference, and it's like, well, okay, is that random? So I switched back, and it's still consistent with like this memory being faster. So back on this memory, back on what should be the fast memory, or might be the fast memory rather, and I'm just going to see, is it faster again? Because if it is, then I'd sort of say, well, okay, that's you know, it's doing that consistently. So yeah, I don't know what the run-to-run variance is. So it's, yeah, you know, whether it would just count as margin of error or not, I'm not sure. But it's quite a lot. Like, I've made actual changes to settings that ought to speed it up, that have made less of a difference. So I think it's probably a bit more than margin of error. But we'll see. We'll see how this run goes. Isarian says AMD has hidden subtimings that might be set by BIOS according to certain SPDs on QVL. Yeah. Yeah, it's either hidden subtimings that the SPD is affecting, or it's the PCB, and that's maybe affecting like something that's set during training, like when the board is booting up. It's like, you know, how long does it take to send a command, how long does it take to get data back. Loop 5 was fast, or maybe normal. Yeah, I'm not an expert on the different like loops and how they tend to behave. Yeah, I guess that's what, 9.75 seconds? Maybe a little bit faster. But I don't know what the trend is supposed to be. Like, if there's supposed to be some faster or some slower. You think they all do the same thing? I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't like to. I wouldn't like to speculate. I don't know either way. I know that SuperPi is actually, you know, trying to do the work of calculating pi. So it's not repeating the same work. It is actually, you know, each loop is, you know, it's maybe following the same, you know, broad path, but it's not doing exactly the same work, or it shouldn't be, I don't think. Forks asks, how's it going? Well, I've been going for 2 hours and 19 minutes, and so far I have covered 2 different kits, both of which use the same chips. They're both 1 Gigabit Nanya C DDR3. And what have we got? 3 minutes 41.718? Fuck me. Yeah, that's even faster. That's like, yeah, that's miles better. So what I've discovered is that at the same settings in BIOS, the Elixir sticks that I have with 1 Gigabit Nanya C are apparently a fair bit faster than the Corsair sticks. Not sure what to make of that. But yeah, that's the thing. Oh, I've also I've only corrupted the OS once so far. So I had to loosen out Rasticast to 8 on the Corsair sticks because it kept having problems. I want to go back to 7 on these sticks. I have a theory it might be temperature sensitive, and yeah, I've got another example of these sticks that I can wave in front of the camera. So, okay, that was the wrong thing. Right. So you can see it's just a solid flat piece of metal, right? You know, fairly thick. Whereas the Corsair XMS, it's like this awful plasticky stuff. It's a little bit thinner, but it's got like that plasticky coating on it, which makes me think it's probably worse. So, we're going to go back to TRC-D7 now. and we'll see what happens. Yasarian says, I think it's a combination of SPD and PCB, etc. like you said. If I flashed the SPD from the BBSE LA Bello users for Sempron onto my kit of Hypers, it still wouldn't help me with base clock. Yeah. I just want to take a moment to appreciate how little sense that sentence would make to someone who isn't familiar with the subject matter. But yeah, how the memory self-reports and everything about how it's built all seems to make a difference, both to performance and to how high you can overclock by raising the base clock as well. It's a whole thing. Yeah. There's clearly a lot to find, like there's a lot to learn on this platform. I could probably just like, I don't know, I could spend years on just working out AM3 overclocking. Whether I want to or not, I don't know. Like, I kind of want to do something else at some point. People have spent years, yeah, it's true. I don't know. I need to do another GPU overclocking stream with the 5950X at some point. Maybe my HD 7770? Probably not the 270X Toxic though, because the 270X Toxic doesn't fit in the case that I have set up for that system. It's actually longer than an RX 6800, which is a bit irksome. But yeah, I want to actually mod something, so the 7770 might be a good bet for that. I didn't want to mod the 7750 I did. See you, Alex. Enjoy the food. But yeah, didn't want to modify the 7750 because it was like a really nice passive card, so I thought, well, actually I do kind of want to sell that. Which I've done now. That's on its way, as of today, to the new owner. Got a decent price for it as well, which, I mean, you would at the moment, wouldn't you? But yeah, something like a 7770 is just an Asus DirectQ, I mean, or Direct CU. I'm not so bothered about modifying that, so I might do that, might do something else. I've got 6850s. I've got 6850s for days. I've got 5 770s. I don't know, I might put a poll up on the Discord, maybe. Although, there's a lot of competition for 5770. Whereas the 7770, I think I could plausibly take the records on that. Low-end cards need mods more, yeah. I mean, I have like some... I can't tell if they're 5450s or 6350s. But I have some of those, anyway. Like a bunch of them. So those would be interesting. Forks says, I feel a special nostalgia going EXO seeing hardware I dailied at some point, like 5870. Yeah, I know what you mean. Actually, I really wish I could get a Zalman Resorator. Not the original one, what was it? A Resorator 3 Max 120mm? Because, like, back in the day, my dream setup was an FX-9590, which I'd also need one of those. But I have lots of other FX chips that I could overclock. And a Resorator 3 Max. I guess a UD7, like the one I'm running right now. And I think graphics card wise, it would be something like, I don't know, Crossfire 290Xs. It'd be fun. But yeah. Or actually, I could do. I've got 7870 XTs. I could do those. I have like 3 7870 XTs actually. I probably need to like test them and sell one. We have a result. 3 minutes 41.187. So that's shaved off more than half a second. $41.187. Save. Okay. Now, if I was on the Corsair sticks right now, I would expect it to crash. I would expect a BSOD. And I haven't had a BSOD. So I'm pretty confident that these sticks are actually just stronger on TRCD. Which is nice. Right. Let's try TRP5 again. Hello, what's this? Oh, it's DDR3, okay. Okay, so that's not happy. I'll try giving it some more memory voltage and see if that helps. Oh, right. Yours says, I used to run 6350 and GTX 660 SLI, OC'd everything I could, some crap RAM, but I dialed timings. I was confused for a minute. I was like, what are you doing, like, SLIing a low-end AMD card with NVIDIA? How does that work? You mean the FX-6350? I see. Yeah. I think FX was kind of the enthusiast choice at the time, because it was actually kind of good value, and it's the point that I always made when I was arguing about processors on 4chan back in the day. You know, back when B was still good, badumtish. The point that I always made was that FX was faster for the things that you actually have to wait for, right? So, like, you know, things like video transcoding, file compression, that actually take time, where you're actually sat in front of the computer twiddling your thumbs, FX is better at. Whereas, like, gaming, okay, it gets less FPS, but as long as it's getting enough, who cares? I know some people would disagree strongly with that sentiment, but that's the way that I see it. You know, I've tried high FPS gaming, I've tried high refresh rate. Personally, I legitimately cannot tell the difference. I'm sure other people can, I just can't. Right, I was going to try more voltage, wasn't I? 1.75. Nope. I'll try 1.8 as well. Ahahaha! That's more like it. I love scaling. And Benchmate loaded up first time. Right. Well, it's running. If the Corsair has anything to go by, then it's probably going to complete, give me a score, and then crash immediately afterwards. But we'll see. I am encouraged, though. I have no reference point for if this is any good, which might be a problem. Like, you know, I probably ought to have just dialed in, like, 2133 710 7 on some PSC or something. Oh! Not exact in round. We actually 8M has found an error. Not exact in round. Loop 4. Sweet. Cool. Good. Fun. But it doesn't pack up on restart. Also interesting. Well, I think you know what's coming. 1.85. Boop, boop. Right. It's funny because, like, I thought I was going to be going through a load of RAM and testing a load of RAM, but I've been going for 2.5 hours and I've tested, I guess, technically 2 kits of RAM, and I'm not even done with that. I don't know why I'm surprised. I shouldn't be surprised by that. This should be exactly what I expected. Oh, this isn't looking good. I told it to open Benchmate and it's just, it's giving me the spinny. It's not rolled over with voltage, has it? I swear I've had the Corsair scaling to 2 volts before now. The remote procedure call failed. Okay. Let's try it again. See what happens. And it's back to the old spinny. That's not a good sign. I might just hit the reset button. Let's do that. I mean, it's clearly not stable. If it was stable, it would be working. But I want to see how bad it is. Like, is it just an unlucky boot that it's less stable than last time? Or, you know, are we going to have to increment the counter in the title, or what? You know, the question really is, has more voltage helped or not? Alright, so this time Benchmate just starts right up. So I guess unlucky boot of sorts. Well, let's see how that goes then. See if it makes it past loop 4. Fingers crossed. So Forks was talking about dailying a 5870 at one point. Actually, that's a thought. What did I used to daily? I used to have, at one point, I had 3 HD 4870s. That was fun. So I did only for about 2 months, late 2010. Yeah, fair enough. I actually picked up the 4870s when AMD dropped support for them. So this was into like the 290X era. So they were dead cheap on eBay at the time. Because, you know, there wasn't like, you know, mining wasn't impacting GPU availability at that point. Like, it was a thing, it just wasn't a big thing. So they were like 10 quid each or something. And what did I do with them? So one of them, I had an Arctic Mono cooler that I attached, and then another one, I actually took the cooler off of a Power Color PCS Plus HD7870, and I had that on it, which was, you know, massively overpowered for a 4870. I don't remember what I did with the third. I think for a lot of the time I was just running 2, but I swear I added a third at some point. But yeah, and I ran NTY, which is this 4chan trip code hasher written for like AMD's weird compute API that they had for the 4000 series and for like Terascale in general. Because folding at home wouldn't run on them, and it was like the only thing I could find that would actually load them up. Sorry, I need to sneeze. 1 sec. Sorry about that. So, I was running this trip code hasher because it was the only thing that would load them up. The thing is, I was in student accommodation at the time, and you weren't allowed to bring in your own like electric heater. But they had turned the heating off at night, and my room was on the corner of the building and like on the outside of campus, so it caught all of the wind and it got really cold at night. So I was literally using my PC as a space heater. It worked really well. The Arctic Mono's nice and quiet, as was this cooler from the 7870. Aha! We have a result. 3 minutes 40.911. So it passed that time. And that is a new PB for the session as well. So, neat. Alright, yeah. I might actually call it around the 3 hour mark, because after that sneeze my throat's hurting a little bit. Right. I'm going to save a profile. And then I'm going to try CL6 again. My theory was that it just does not like CL6. But you never know. I don't think I've tried it with this much voltage before now. Yours says better the cooler the warmer the room. I don't think that's quite how thermodynamic... I mean, I guess to some extent. But you only avoid, like... The only heat that isn't getting into the room is the stuff that's stuck in the thermal mass of the cooler and the case and everything. So it's technically true, but not really. Although, Lord save me from those people who think that, like, because they have a better heat sink, that their room is getting cooler. I mean, again, technically true, because it often will reduce leakage, but also, no. You know, fans do not make heat just disappear. Alright, well, CL6 is doing well so far. Hey Bears, Dark Jarvis says, liquid cool your room and you'll be good. Linus face, yeah. Funny you should pop in, Bears. I've actually started playing STNE again. On and off. I probably won't stick around, but... Hey Matt! Matt's here as well. God, people popping in, like, just after I say I'm probably going to call the stream in about 20 minutes time, but oh well. Finally got home. Yeah, long drive, I imagine. Isarian says, if fans are powerful enough, you can increase air circulation and cause more even temperature in a room. Okay, technically there are ways that moving air can, like, make it a cooler environment for the people, even though, you know, even discounting the effect of the moving air. But, yeah, I actually have the rig command updated. Blue Paw Wolf says, I was talking with a person the other day about housewarming and space heater things, and my thoughts, if you're going to go for house heating, why not go for crypto miners? Heating the house, and even if they get outdated, they'll still reduce the heating cost anyway. So, yeah, that's an interesting one. The thing is, electric heating is 100% efficient, right? Like, 100% of, you know, the electricity, the electric energy that goes in becomes heat in the house. And running a crypto miner is also 100% well, there's like a tiny amount of like noise energy, I suppose, or something, but like it's pretty much also 100% efficient. So it's better than electric heating, other than it's going to be more expensive. And there's going to be some like level of embodied carbon, you know, the environmental cost of actually making the damn thing. But here's the thing, heat pumps exist, and a heat pump is more than 100% efficient. A heat pump is going to be like probably more like 200-300% efficient. I don't know the exact numbers, you know, please double check if the numbers matter to you, but it's going to be that kind of thing. It's going to be, you know, well over 100% efficient, which makes it a lot more efficient than direct electric heating, and a lot more efficient than a crypto miner or a gaming PC for heating. So if you're trying to heat a house, use a heat pump. And, you know, over 100% efficiency sounds like, you know, weird magic, but, like, the thing is that the house is not actually a closed system, but we're treating it like a closed system. And, you know, the heat pump is just taking energy from outside of what we're treating as the system. So it's not over 100% thermodynamic efficiency, but it's over 100% sort of practical efficiency, I guess. 3 minutes 40.561. Nice, that's a solid, you know, few seconds off. 561. How was the drive home, Matt, by the way? That says the crypto heater does generate. Actually, there's more than one Matt in chat, isn't there? Technically. So Tech Tested says the crypto heater does generate currency on top of the heat. So depending on how efficiently you mine, it can be a break-even setup. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, mining can make money. The drive was long but uneventful. Fair enough, I guess. Yeah, uneventful, I suppose, is a good thing for a drive, isn't it? Especially after what one of the things I was talking about earlier is people in the UK just actually. I'll get new settings set up. I don't know, I'll tighten a sub timing or something, and then I'll go off on one about tyres. I guess let's just try RAS to RAS of 4. See what that does. Oh, you've had a hit of L2 and now you're addicted. It is fun, isn't it? Right, well that's booted. So yeah, we were talking about this earlier. English people drive on summer tyres all year round, regardless of the conditions. For the most part. And now that I have a car, now that I own a car, and now that I've looked at what tyres it has on it, and found out that the back tyres are ancient and the front tyres are mismatched and cheap summer tyres, I've decided to swap them and actually get some nice, good quality all-weather tyres instead, because it gets a bit chilly and very wet where I live. But yeah, it's interesting because like Alex was here earlier. He's Scandinavian, of course, and so he's like, you know, sort of mind blown that people might be driving around on summer tyres in the winter. Whereas here, it's like people find it weird that you would fit, you know, winter tyres or all-weather tyres. It's like, what are you doing with that? Like, there's even some insurance companies that will actually charge you extra if you fit winter tyres. And there was actually a bit of a push at one point to get insurance companies to pledge not to do that and say, no, you don't need to tell us if you've got winter tyres, we're not going to charge you extra. My insurance company is one of those. My insurance company does not need to know about your tyres, will not charge you extra for having winter tyres or all-weather tyres. I did check. But yeah, that's how sort of weird it is in England. I say in England because I like to... I would sort of hope that in Scotland people would be a bit more sensible about it. Dark Jarvis says, what on earth is the rationale between charging extra for that? Behind charging extra for that, sorry. I guess it's just that people who run winter tyres are more likely to drive in like seriously adverse conditions, and then they're more like, even if they aren't crashing, they're more likely to be crashed into by some other idiot who's on summers, I guess. I think that's probably the logic. Like, I imagine numerically drivers who are on winter or all-weather tyres are probably more likely to get in an accident because they're more likely to be out there in snow. I think that's probably the logic. Also, there's probably a bit of a correlation between that and just being a bit of a car enthusiast, and car enthusiasts tend to take more risks because they like, kind of pushing the machine to its limits. So that's probably part of it as well. But yeah, this I think is why there was a push against that kind of thing, and to get insurance companies to pledge to, like, not have an issue with winter tyres or all-weather tyres. But yeah. Blue Poor Wolf said, also Scandinavian, I agree, it's crazy. I know, right? Yeah. Okay, 3 minutes 44 to 8. What time are we? 8 o'clock. My throat is actually starting to hurt, which is really annoying because it's like people have just started, like, filing in. I'm gonna do another one. I'm gonna change another setting, see how that runs. What about row cycle time? I have no idea what this RAM does, but that seems high at the moment. So let's try, I don't know, 28? That's quite aggressive. Let's be aggressive. I mean, it's posting. I think I might... No, that's Benchmate being Benchmate. I'll do this run, but I think I might have to leave it after this run, annoyingly. Because just like my throat and chest are sort of starting to feel a bit off, and I don't want to push it, and I also don't want to, like, clam up and stop talking, because then it's going to be a very boring stream. I don't think people want to watch SuperPi running with, like, no sound. And also, I still haven't got off my ass and sorted out music. But yeah. So I'll see how this run does. And I might keep testing off stream, I guess, but I'll probably take a bit of a break first. Probably take a lateral flow test as well. You never know. Never be afraid to take care of yourself over streaming. Believe me, Yoz, I'm not afraid. The thing is, I genuinely, not only do I enjoy streaming, but actually streaming's good for me. Like, it is legitimately a form of self-care. It's not just that not only do I love doing this, but I feel better after doing it. Especially, like, if there's lots of people around and we're able to have a good talk. So it's a balance. It really is a balance. It's lots of people have been around. It's been really nice. But I think, yeah, once this run's done, once we've hit the 3 hour mark, I think I'll probably need to leave it there. Yoz says, I love hanging out with OC friends on stream. I just have to be in the mood to have a camera, to have a camera personality. Yeah, exactly. Tech Tested says, about 8 GHz validations. We should have got the right BIOS for your Crosshair 5 formula for 1 core per module. We also needed to have PS check for every chip we tried. There was something else, but I can't remember right now. I mean, yeah, you're definitely right on those two. What else is there for 8G? PS check, 1 core per module could sometimes help. There's, I think it's the 2.5 volt voltage at VDDCI or something that can help you run a higher multiplier. I don't know if you tried that, but that's a very, very useful voltage. So maybe that. Hey. Nearly done. No, it's going to be just a hair under 3 hours. We should have tried a higher base clock. Oh right, yeah, of course, yeah. That's very sensible, yeah. See if you're multiplier limited. Right, 3 minutes 40.213. That's a solid improvement. That's another 0.2 of a second off from the row cycle time. So, yeah, I mean that's about 2 seconds shaved off relative to defaults. And that's just from timings. I haven't tried higher memory speeds yet. However, my throat is starting to go, so probably better not to push it. Which means I'm going to leave it here, much as I'm loath to do so. It's been a good 3 hours. Thank you very much to everyone who showed up, everyone who's been around. Everyone who's been chatting. As I said earlier, it's been really nice. Been really good talking with you all, and yeah, I'll post the results in Discord. This is where my Discord is, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.